This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with none other than Davie Miller of Finitribe fame. How are you today, Davie?
I'm very well, Jamie.
Now, we are here in the city of Carcassone. We've just been here for the Convenanza festival, but we're actually here to speak a little bit about Scottish food and what Scottish food means to you. When you were a young boy, you told me you were born down in the Borders.
Yeah.
What kind of food did you grow up on?
I grew up initially on a farm, and you would think from that you would eat fairly healthily, but my grandmother was probably one of the worst cooks you could ever imagine, especially for a farmer's wife. And it was stews and kind of boiled cabbage boiled to the point where it was pure mush. And I guess that's all I knew. So that was what I ate and what I had to eat.
What kind of dishes would have been normal throughout a week for you?
When obviously with my mother, my mother was it was very traditional British food. I think it was certainly like the gammon steak with the pineapple.
Oh yes, I remember that well.
The potatoes, mince and tatties, fish and chips on a Friday, mince and tatties again probably, maybe not twice a week, but we certainly ate it every week. And there was no restaurants, there was no going out, we never ate out. I don't think I ate out until I was early days of the band, really. There was no restaurants in Edinburgh, there was no appetite for that, to squeeze the pun. But it was very traditional. Beans
featured majorly in my diet as well. Yeah.
Heinz beans.
Were Scotch pies on the menu often?
I think occasionally there would be a Scotch pie and chips, or steak pie and chips, which again has become kind of a staple diet of the Scots, which is apparently allegedly we have one of the worst diets in the world. And
would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Greggs is ever omnipresent in Edinburgh and in Scotland, and it's spread into England. And Greggs is very cheap. It's it sells lots of greasy bridies, sausage rolls, steak pies, macaroni pies, although I believe they've stopped making the macaroni pie now.
Does that upset you?
It did, actually. I liked a macaroni pie. But I think Edinburgh and the UK is beginning to change. I'm not a foodie, but I do love the moment that I am given a plate of food which has been well prepared and thought about. I don't go looking for it, but I have friends around me who are foodies and take me places which educate me. I'm still learning. I might yet be converted to the love of food.
Renaissance man then?
Yeah.
Possibly.
I think I've always had a fairly unhealthy relationship with food.
Now, one thing that I remember quite distinctly was the first time I was taken to a pizza restaurant in Edinburgh. I believe it would have been Pizza Land. Can you remember your first pizza?
God, I think we touched about this earlier. We talked about frozen foods.
Oh yes, yes.
I think the first pizza I would have had would be my mother would have got pizzas from farm foods or something, and it definitely came in the cellophane packet.
Yep, I remember that well.
Polystyrene base, and that would have been the first pizza. And the first pizza would be tomato and cheese.
Right.
So basically a bread cheese piece with a bit of tomato on it, really, because that kind of translated into Scottish. People could understand. It was this cheese piece. So yeah, I think my first pizza was probably 14, 15.
Well, in a kind of carry-on from the gammon steak with pineapple, my very first pizza, and the only pizza I ate for my tender years, was the Hawaiian, the ham and pineapple. Some people think that to be sacrilege, but to this day I still have a soft spot for it. Oh yes.
I'm afraid I cannot, to this day I cannot eat hot pineapple.
Right.
It makes me gag.
Now, what are your thoughts on the apocryphal Scottish fish and chip shop, the Scottish Chippy?
There are some excellent fish and chip shops in Edinburgh. They're now kind of becoming a little bit artisan even in their design. They're stripped back walls, and there are proper pizza ovens in them, and they'll even serve a fish with the breadcrumb on it.
Oh, in like the old style that we used to have that at home. Yes, yeah.
Instead of the traditional batter.
Right.
I mean, I think the fish and chip thing for me now is it's a great idea, but when you have it, I can rarely ever finish it. It's the grease. It just fills your stomach with grease. There's not much fish goes in there.
But they are basically designed to be eaten when you're steaming on the street, walking, or if you're, as a child, I can remember eating them in a car, steaming up the windows on a beach somewhere.
Yes, I think that's the kind of family Sunday afternoon out.
As it's pissing down outside.
Yeah, is to go to Dunbar or North Berwick.
Yeah, exactly.
And get a chippy and sit in the car when the wind and the hail and the sand are splashing the windows of the car, and you eat your chips, and then you go home for a sort of Sunday evening TV program. But yeah, I mean they're as ever popular as they've ever been. There are so many chip shops in Edinburgh, and of course in Edinburgh then you have salt and vinegar, or not salt and vinegar. You have salt and brown sauce. In Glasgow you'd have salt and vinegar. What
is your preference there?
I actually just have salt.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like sauce.
I love brown sauce. I really do.
I'm not a fan of the chippy sauce.
And what is the worst thing that you've ever chosen to purchase from a chippy?
I think it would probably be a spring roll in a roll.
A what? A spring roll inside a
inside a bat.
Inside a bat.
Yeah. That's when I've been drunk or on the way home. But yes, a very unhealthy, greasy spring roll, which is not really like a spring roll at all. It's full of onions and I don't know what it's full of actually, but it's certainly not healthy.
So today Edinburgh is going through a bit of a renaissance with regards to restaurants and the like. Is there anywhere that you really enjoy right now in Edinburgh?
I mean it's very expensive, but 2121 is Paul Kitching is probably the most extraordinary experience I've had with food. For me it was like an event. It wasn't really just eating food. I've always had a kind of problem with seeing food as art or cookery as art or chefing as art, but this was exceptional. And the service was wonderful. It wasn't overly fussy. There was nobody trying to take your napkin off every time you stood up. The staff were really friendly, and it was a total experience. And I would do that again. But I mean, it is expensive. It's kind of ridiculously expensive. But I would do it again, and I loved it.
Excellent. Well, Davie Miller, thank you very much for joining us in Carcassone this afternoon. We look forward to catching up with you in Edinburgh at some point in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Bye for now.
Bye.